The next series of presentations will be fixed asset accounting, and we will start off with the asset org structure. Let's have an overview of basic asset accounting. For example, you are purchasing a fixed asset. It could be a machine for $12,000. It comes into your balance sheet in the fixed asset side. So you can put your machine's $12,000. It's a fixed asset for you now. Let's say that this machine can run for 4 years. So its useful life is 4 years. And most of the organizations, they depreciate in straight line depreciation. There are a few different type of depreciation methods, and one of the most popular one is a straight line depreciation method. That means it depreciates equally over the life of the fixed asset. So the year zero, or the first time when you bought it, the first year, the value is $12,000. Then after 1 year, it depreciates by $3,000 because 12,000 divided by 4 years, each year it depreciates by 3,000, 3,000, 3,000, and 3,000. So after the first year, the net book value of the asset is $9,000. After the second year, it's $6,000. After the third year, it's $3,000. And after the fourth year, it's $0. And when it depreciates, depreciation is an expense. So this 3,000 will be posted under your expenses under the income statement. It will be a depreciation expense of $3,000. Correspondingly, after 1 year, the machine value, the net value will be $9,000. So 9,000 will be posted in your fixed asset as a total value, not 12,000 anymore, and the 3,000 will be coming as depreciation. There are different GL accounts which makes these postings happen, and we will get to that later in the presentations. In any module in SAP, the highest organizational unit is the client. The client is like the 3-digit ID which you log into before you access the SAP GUI path. The organizational unit for fixed asset accounting, the highest node is the chart of depreciation. This chart of depreciation is country specific. So you create one chart of depreciation for your country, and many company codes can use that same chart of depreciation. So you assign these company codes to the chart of depreciation. Similarly, if you have a business in another country, you create another chart of depreciation for that specific country. So in this example, I've chosen US and here it's Canada. And you can assign those company codes into that chart of depreciation. And these company codes can be assigned to a chart of accounts, which can be a global chart of accounts as well. So in your main chart of accounts, your operational chart of accounts, you can specify a global chart of accounts at the bottom. And then the global chart of accounts can give a consolidated view of your organization's financial statements. In general ledger accounting, we came across the terminology chart of accounts. This chart of accounts consists the list of general ledger accounts used in the organization. Similarly, for fixed asset accounting, we have chart of depreciation. It's a list of country-specific depreciation areas and is structured according to the business requirements. This chart of depreciation is at the client level. So for one client, you have one chart of depreciation for a specific country. You don't have to create multiple chart of depreciation if you're using in the same country. It is the highest node in asset accounting. Just like in the previous slide, we saw organizational structure. In asset accounting, it is the highest node. You can copy a reference or sample chart of depreciation for your country. So if you do not have a chart of depreciation already exist in the system by default for your country, you can simply copy from another country and apply to yours. And as we saw in the previous slide, you can assign one or more company codes to a chart of depreciation. Let's look at the terminology depreciation area. These are used for specific type of valuation. For example, you have book valuation, tax valuation, group currency valuation, and so on. Depreciation area, by default, you get depreciation area 0, 1, which is a leading depreciation area. And this is for your book depreciation. You always use this, at least you must have one depreciation area configured in your system. And these depreciation areas are noted by a 2-digit numeric key, like 0, 1 for depreciation leading depreciation area, which is your book depreciation. And you can have like 1, 5 for tax depreciation and another number for your group currency depreciation and so on. You can also create your own depreciation areas as well. Generally, this is based on the requirements of your organizational reporting standards. But it's best to stick with at least one, that is 01 for your book depreciation, and most likely if you're a public listed company or you need to provide taxation values, you have another depreciation area as well. Now let's see how the depreciation area valuation differs between different type of depreciation areas. At the time of purchasing an item, the value is the same. So for example, you're purchasing an item for $10,000. So in your balance sheet value of the book depreciation, it is $10,000. And for your tax depreciation also, it will be $10,000. There are no changes in that. I have created another book depreciation area called group currency book depreciation, and this is in euro, whereas the other two are in US dollars. So this is simply translating the currency conversion. For example, one US dollar is equal to 80 euro cents. So it's changing from $10,000 to $8,000. However, the value is the same except that it is in reporting in euros. Now, when you come to the depreciation method, this is where the main difference is between book depreciation and tax depreciation. In your country, they can say that this particular item can be depreciated 20% every year for 5 years. But they say that for tax depreciation purposes, it can be depreciated 15% for the first year, maybe 25% for the second year, and they can have different type of methods for that. So hence, you'll be reporting your tax depreciation as $1,500 and book depreciation will be $2,000. Group currency book depreciation is simply the conversion from your original book depreciation area 01 US dollars to euros. Then the net book value will be 10,000 minus 2,000, 8,000, 10,000 minus 1,500, 8,500, both in US dollars, and euro is simply 8,000 minus $1,600, which will be reported as 6,400 euros. So 8,000 euros minus 1,600 euros reported as 6,400 euros. Let's come to the IMG menu path to do the configuration for fixed asset accounting. Come to financial accounting, asset accounting, organizational structures, and the first setting we will do is copy reference chart of depreciation. So I'm just going to execute that transaction and we go to the first one which says copy reference chart of depreciation, and then we go to this icon over here, that is to copy from chart of depreciation. So we'll look for the existing one for the US one. You can see a lot of countries already listed here. You can just simply copy one of these and then rename it to, or you can create your own one for your company. I'm just going to go and select the one for the US. You can just check over there. It's in alphabetical order. So it's going to scroll down a bit. Here it is. There's one already here. Someone has already copied that one. And there it is. Yep, 0 US. Most likely you'll find it, the naming convention will be 0 and followed by the 2-character identification for your country. I'm just going to click on that, and chart of depreciation I'm going to call it as M000. This one I'm going to use. So this will be exclusively for my company codes which are going to be using this chart of depreciation. So all my company codes which are residing in the country of United States of America, they will be using this chart of depreciation M000, which has been copied from 0 US. If you have multiple countries, you have a multinational organization where your organizations are present, then you should make sure your chart of depreciation has some unique identifier. Like you can call that MUS0 or something like that. Or you can just put M and put these 3 characters after that as well. So you have identification of this. Press OK to continue. And then you can do all the changes you want for within this chart of depreciation. So you don't actually touch the original chart of depreciation which is provided by SAP. You will leave that as it is, so anyone can actually do and copy and make those necessary changes. You copy that existing one and create your own one. So now I copied all the information from 0 US to M000. I'll use that as my chart of depreciation. The next step is to give a description for the chart of depreciation. So by default, the description when you have copied, it would have been like sample chart of depreciation in that country, but we'll give some meaningful information for the chart of depreciation we just created, M000. Rather than calling it as sample chart of depreciation, I'll call it M chart of depreciation USA. Let's call it like that and save. If you have your organization name, you can put that as well and then simply save that. The next setting is to expand the integration with General Ledger Accounting section and come to assign input tax indicator for non-taxable acquisitions. That is our second step. We're going to specify our tax code for when you acquire something which does not have a tax value. So I'm going to specify my company code over here. And then you can see by default it's already been set up, input tax indicator and output tax indicator. However, E1 does have a tax value, so I don't want to put that one. I'll put E0, which has no tax, 0%. Output tax O0 has 0% anyway, so that's good. And simply save the transaction. All good. The next setting we have to do is to define how depreciation areas post to general ledger. Depreciation areas are like your book depreciation, tax depreciation, you can have group currency depreciation and so on, and how they post to general ledger. Now it's important that you have mentioned your leading ledgers. Like for example, if you're using leading ledger 0L, it should appear as your target group ledger as well. Let's look at that when you do the configuration. I'm going to execute this. And for my chart depreciation M000, I can see by default a lot of depreciation areas are coming up. This is because I copied over the chart of depreciation 0US. I'm going to take away a lot of these depreciation areas and keep only 3. Highlight all of this, remove them. It's going to keep book, tax, and 1 for book division in group currency. Probably I can say my group currency is in euros, so I'll just put that over here in case I want to use it in future. Now I need to assign the accounting principle. Generally we use GAAP in the US, so I'm going to put that one, GAAP over here and GAAP over there. Some countries you might be using IFRS or different type of methods. And you must ensure that the target group is 0L for actually because my target group ledger is 0L. So I need to make sure my account principal also becomes 0L. If you had chosen IFRS and if your target group is 2L, you must configure this in the accounting principles. We saw some configurations regarding accounting principles many presentations ago. So if you're going to use different type of accounting principles, you must ensure your target group is set up there as well. But my target group is 0L, so I'm going to put cap for that. All good. And then proceed to save the transaction. All clear. These are just been deleted. Unnecessary depreciation areas which I don't want. Press OK to continue. And that's saved. Now let's revisit our ledger settings again. That is, we come to financial accounting global settings, ledgers, and under that we have ledger. Define settings for ledgers and currency types. Let's go to that. We have done some settings over here previously. So I'm going to execute that transaction. And our leading ledger is 0L. So I'm going to click on that. Then go to the company code settings for that leading ledger and look for my company code position M001. There it is. And in here, just going to select that. You can just double click on that line item or just select that and go to accounting principles for ledger and company code. So I'm going to put my accounting principles. I'm going to use GAAP. So click on new entries and specify that accounting principle, because that's what we have been assigning to our depreciation areas and other type of accounting principles where it will be coming up later for configuration. So specify GAAP over here and save the transaction. That generates a transport request and press OK to continue. And remember to do the same for your other company codes as well. So like we can go to your company codes. My other company codes I have is M002. Simply click on that and assign the entry here as well, GAAP, and save the transaction. Now, if you are using the currency type 30 and you plan to do multiple currencies, then you need to do this configuration setting as well. That is still under the asset accounting section. Organizational structures was above there. Here it is, asset accounting. And then we come to general valuation, currencies, specify the use of parallel currencies. Just execute that. And for your different type of depreciation areas, so for example, for 10 is a tax one, you can specify number 11, company code currency, group valuation. You can't use currency type number 10. And for 32, that is my book depreciation. I'm going to use a group currency. We specify your number 30 parallel currency over here. And just simply save the transaction. And then the next step is to assign your chart of depreciation to the company code. So I'm going to go to my company code, M001 over here. Specify my chart of depreciation. I can assign that to the other company codes as well and simply save the transaction. And In this presentation, we saw some basic configuration to start off your fixed asset accounting. First, copy a reference chart of depreciation based on your country code. Then proceed to assign the input tax indicator for non-taxable acquisitions. Then define how the depreciation areas post to general ledger. You can decide how many depreciation areas you want. Specify the use of parallel currencies if you are using like currency type 30, and for those depreciation areas specify the relevant currency type as well. And you can then proceed to assign the company codes. If you have one or more company codes, assign them to the chart of depreciation which you have created. This will complete the basic settings for the organizational structure relevant configurations. In the next presentation, we will look at more in detail about asset classes and other type of configuration settings.